Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux with another supporter stream. And today our topic is Flatpaks and snaps as a package base. We couldn't think of a distro that uses AppImages, but theoretically it's possible. So we're going to talk about that as we go. So I am broadcasting now from this spot here, which is actually just about 500 yards up the road from the place I've been doing the Friday night shows. But up here, we actually get better internet. 500 yards away, we get way better internet. And so that we're going to try this here and see how this works. And if this works on both streams here, then I will broadcast from this point and location tomorrow night as well, unless I go closer to town or something. So,
hey, Mark, you got some earbuds?
Yeah, Mark, you are really echoing on us.
Oh, you know what? I realized that.
Your KO and
I'm gonna mute you for a minute while you can find some earbuds. So there we have it. All right. So with that, sorry about the little echo there. I wanted to get through the intro part before I before I did anything there. But anyway, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing fine.
I'm doing pretty good today.
All right, that's good. Yeah, I was
watching some documentaries about.
It's kind of cool outside. I went outside to go to the mailbox in my shorts, and I'm like, "Whoa, the hair on my legs are standing up."
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
The van right now is 25°C, perfect temperature. Got the window open here, and fresh breeze coming through, and man, is it nice! It's nice. So, and as beautiful as the scenery is, just behind me is actually a bunch of recycling bins. So if anybody comes in to dump their recycling, it's going to get loud for a moment. But this here, I have found this here is a really good spot for internet that's still in the middle of nowhere. There's a car coming too. Let's see if we hear the car coming. But anyway, so what was your documentary on, Selby?
Yeah, about the fall of Afghanistan and the pulling out of the international embassies and so on. So it's interesting to watch it from a documentary perspective. So
is it a brand new documentary or is it a little out of date? Okay.
No, yeah, it's made within the last week.
All right. It is good then. All right. Let's see, Mark, how's it going? Did you find headphones yet? You can unmute yourself to talk, of course, or just talk in sign language. We'll try and translate. Yeah. All right. Apparently he froze too. All right, well, jump in if you can, Mark. Let's see, over in the comments, we got Jeffrey, 100% Flatpak system OS. Is that even possible? Not 100%, but like Elementary is getting as far as they can, packaging everything they can as Flatpaks, and then their store is pretty much Flatpak only. I don't even think you can easily access the Ubuntu repository in their store. Linux Bytes, greetings to you, Mr. Tech Guy. Except snaps, the rest are just okay. Snaps are bloated and slow down the system. Yeah, they also mount themselves. Every snap will mount itself. So that does mess things up. Do snaps and our Flatpaks integrate with the system GTK themes? I think that's going to depend on how they're packaged and how the distribution is packaged. They will borrow some of the theming, but not all of it. I've seen some pretty ugly ones.
Better butter.
Yep. Gotcha, Mark. How's it going?
Pretty good.
All right.
I'm Riley Mal tonight.
All right. Yeah, so you're doing okay. Nothing else to say. All right. Kitty Cam, how's the vacation going? Kitty says vacation's going well. I think they're both up in the front cabin. So if the van starts driving away, the cat is in control. Except I have the keys. But yes, the cats are going to be over in the front seats most likely. Let's see, the kitty is in the house. Greetings, Moonbase Alpha Grays. How are you doing? My rules, I don't care how it comes as long as I can get the software I need. There you go. And that's a good point as well. As long as the software is available, you can get it. So there you go. What's with the background noise? That might have been the echo. Yeah, that was...
Flatpak does try to pull down Mint Y and Mint X themes and GNOME application themes. They're listed all on my Flatpak list as long as Qt.
So like Qt is going to work better than GTK?
I think they're trying to make it something required a Qt element, so it supplies it, because my knowledge of Flatpaks is it brings down every package it needs to run with it, which would make which will make your system a little more bloated because you're using packages over packages over packages that are in separate sandboxes.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than using one package that's in the central system.
The Ultima says, in America and using Celsius. Yes, that's because every thermostat I have in this van, except the one on the refrigerator, reports things in C. And the refrigerator only tells me how cold the inside is. So, yeah, I'm pretty much, I will get really good at the Celsius conversion in my head. So, yeah, I know. That's because... all my stuff, which like the actual thermostat, which is my heater, I understand that being C because that's just a Chinese diesel heater, but my solar charge controller is actually an American product. I'm actually using Renogy for that, and they don't have the option to convert that to Fahrenheit, which is weird.
In my church, we have in one of the columns right next to the sound mixer stage, we have a good old-fashioned analog temperature measurement. It's not a mercury, but it's a look-like one. And on one side of the measurement there is Fahrenheit, and on the other side there is Celsius.
You know, for decades, they've been trying to kind of shove us out of the imperial system and into the metric system by subtly making changes to things. Like if you were a car mechanic, all the nuts and bolts were in half, 3/16, 5/16 nuts and bolts. Then they started, going to millimeters, 10 millimeters, 13 millimeters. Then they had in a time where they intermingled this stuff.
Yeah,
so, in that period, you had to throw out your old tools or pack them away and slowly start buying the new metric stuff.
Yeah, everything in the van is metric, which is funny. Silver Adventures, you don't think the cats can hotwire? They can hotwire. They've done it before, but this vehicle has a chip in it, so you can't hotwire it. Sorry. Just realized last night I got snaps. They uninstalled quickly. I found out then when I installed OBS Studio, the snap was also installed. Wow. He's a superior temperature type Celsius. Then runs. Yeah. All right, Farron. I'm chasing you. I'm chasing Farron. So I'm just gonna send the kitty after Farron. Kitty, go get Farron. Bring him back.
With Celsius, you kind of got to remember that 0 is where water freezes, and 100 is at 220 where water boils.
Yeah,
everything in between, you can make an estimate.
I am a doctoral level chemist, so I kind of get that.
Yeah, and one odd thing that I've noticed, commented on a few years back, was that in American weather reports, if it's hot, they are reporting the temperature in Fahrenheit, whereas if it is cold, they are reporting it in Celsius, because then they can say that it is below 0 or below freezing, which water freezes at 32 degrees.
32 degrees, yeah.
Yeah, fun.
So if there is below 0 Fahrenheit, then it's really cold.
Farron is blocking my cat with cat treats now. It's like, dude, all right.
Working in IT, I've kind of got used to Celsius. I prefer it.
Yeah,
the rest of the world is on Celsius, so should America be.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into our topic here for the day. So what inspired this one is thinking about there's a big push to move distributions to snaps, Flatpaks, things like that. We couldn't come up with an idea for AppImages, but if you're new around here and you're like, what are these? So let's kind of walk just briefly through Linux package management. The basic way that packages are managed is the developers for your distribution, they will port in the software in the repositories, and then you can just install it with whatever package manager. So apt, pacman, EO package, DNF, you get these guys here. And there's been a shift away from that because those would need updated. Sometimes the update would lag behind. Like Arch gets the newest versions of packages right away, but Debian will just deploy security updates and keep the software the same for stability purposes. So The idea is, hey, let's have some separate way to manage packages where the developers can push out new versions anytime, and then this takes pressure off of the distro developers to focus on other things, which is in theory an excellent idea, but it does have some drawbacks in my opinion as well. This is where Arch and Snap's flat packages doesn't really matter, because sometimes Arch will get it before the Flatpak is released. You get something like Debian, you may not want the latest version of software, and if you're using a Flatpak based system or a Snap based system, you really don't have a choice. So it does carry with it a lot of positives as well. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these unified platforms where, and you have the Snaps, which is based, this is developed by the Ubuntu team at Snapcraft, and the biggest reason those are looked down upon by half of the Linux community, not the other half, but half of them, is because while the snaps themselves are open source, the distribution method is reliant on the one central proprietary distribution source. That is what raises a problem. Salvi, you said something?
For me personally, I have decided that I'm not using any kind of be it snaps or Flatpaks, and because I like to. There are some software that I have which my distribution does not package, but then I make my own package because I find that maybe Fedora has packaged the software that I need. And then I fetch the source RPM from Fedora, and then I rebuild it for my system. And then I put it in my own local package repository that I have packages that I have compiled for my own use. But I do see the advantage of having a central or an outside package management system that is the same across many distributions. Flatpak is quite nice in this regard, because you can have the flat hub, but if you for some reason don't trust the flat hub, then you can use another one and think that Fedora runs their own flat hub type of thing. So you can pick and choose which repository that you are really willing to trust. And if you trust no one, then you can also host your own if you're so inclined.
Yes. Yeah, that's where Flatpak has the greater advantage.
I have one beef with Flatpak.
Yep.
Okay, you know our latest Audacity debacle with the telemetry and stuff like that? They still list it as an open source program, even though they're at 3.04 now, which is well into their telemetry game plan that they had announced. It still lists it's open source. They got the same listing they've always used. When they do something like that with open source software or FOSS software, they need to list or say that there's a possibility there's telemetry in this package.
Yeah, well, it is still open source. It just has telemetry in it, which means you can audit what the telemetry is doing.
Well, you know, Flatpak should do that and then tell you if there's telemetry in it or not.
Yes, I agree with that.
Flat Hub.
So if you wanted to sit back and be like, okay, I don't want to update this, you're going to have a harder time holding a package back. And that is really one of the biggest disadvantages, is sometimes I don't want the latest package for a reason. And if you're running and dependent on the developers to push out your software, it defeats the purpose of running a distribution like Debian, which keeps itself rigidly stable for a longer period of time. And so that's really the different philosophy. So it actually interferes with half of the Linux philosophy. Somebody else mentioned... Yep, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I was going to put in my 2 cents. I absolutely abhor it. I hate it with a passion. And I'm sitting here biting my tongue in my head. I love... One of the things that brought me to Linux was the repositories. The traditional ways of doing things here's the thing about it. This is the thing nobody thinks of. This is why I think it's a regression. I don't think it's progressive. I think it's a regression. And the reason being is if we have to go to the FlatHub or Flat Image website to get the software individually, I know you don't. You can do it in the command line. But the point was for repositories for a centralized place where you can get all the software, update it, and it just does it all together automatically and with ease. If I was going to go out to the website to get, even if it's just one website, even if it's Flatpak website, flathub.org, whatever, what's the point? Why don't I just use Windows when it comes to software? Because Windows acts in the same way. And the thing about Windows, I can get software from numerous places if one is down for whatever reason. What happens if the server goes down with the flathub.org and they're not able to serve out the packages?
They have more than one server.
Right, but I mean,
they have backups.
It's one source that you're relying on.
It's just a place. It's a dumping ground where everybody puts their packages, to be looked at. And if somebody wants to install them, they can install them. The Flatpak system, matter of fact, will work on more Linux distros, than you'd think. Let's say you want to switch to elementary. I'm sure you could put Flatpak on elementary if you wanted to move out of Debian or something.
Well,
and use all the same packages you used before.
Of elementary in a moment. To Mark's point, though, Flatpak is not as impacted by that because you can create your own separate repositories for it. But snaps you can't. Like, it is technically, at least at one point in time, was possible to have your own snap store, but it still relies on the central snap repository to do it. And so that is a problematic thing. But to Mark's point, he's right. Not as much with Flatpak, but more with
snaps.
Mm-hmm.
If the Ubuntu server goes down, you have an issue with snaps. You ain't gonna get no software for any Ubuntu distro you have.
The end user is not going to use a terminal. Therefore, they're going to an external website in their mind for what I know it acts as a repository. It essentially is its own repository. So what's the difference? The difference is with the end user, with my clients, they're having to go outside to an external website to get the software because they don't know how to do it in the terminal. I could show them how to do it in the terminal, but they would forget.
What are you referencing though, Mark?
The repositories are natural. They're organic in that it's built into the operating system. It sits in your task tray like the Mint update. You just click it and go. Why would, if I was going to have to go to an external website to get the software and then come back to install it, what's so different as far as
but you don't have to do that though with Flatpaks and snaps because it's very possible to tie that in. So like Gnome Store has plugins for Snap and Flatpak. Palmac has it for Arch Systems. Elementary's new thing is Flatpak base. In fact, you can't get repository software from it, which is ridiculous. The Ubuntu store, which is a Snap based store, it allows Flatpak, snaps, and repository. So you can still set it up as long as you're setting it up right. And I want to address this one real quick. Ivor Connor, what about AppImage? Well, what we're talking about is snaps and Flatpaks as the package based in the distribution. And I don't know of any distributions that do that with AppImage. That's why, I mean, initially it was in the title, but, for one thing, in the stream title, like on the banner that below us here, we can't have the AppImages on that as well without shrinking it down. But I don't know of any distributions that exclusively use or attemptively exclusively majority use AppImages. But we do have Ubuntu, which majority uses Snap. We have Elementary is now majority using Flatpak. Now, there were some updates to Elementary. Now it does provide you links for FlatHub in the store, so you don't have to go to the external site, install it, and then that will, covertly install the FlatHub. But I think it will still give you the warnings, which is why I just cannot get behind Elementary at all anymore. Let's talk about this next issue. Somebody had addressed up there in the comments. I won't be able to find it real quick, but he said, snaps and Flatpaks make me feel like I'm using a hard drive again. So they are slower. And that is certainly a concern for some people. I prioritize not using any of them. I will only use them if I have to. I will prioritize Flatpaks if I have to use something. But that's kind of it. Does anybody else have speed related issues to talk about?
I don't have any. Once you install Flatpak system and then some apps and reboot the machine, they work great for me. I mean, I'm on a Debian based system. Everything gets tossed down. It's kind of old. Sometimes though, I have the back ports open. I get later stuff and it's good enough. But if I want something that's the latest, the greatest, like the Element thing that you were using, I had to get that in a Flatpak. And I had to wrestle with it to get it to work. But after I got it to work one time, it popped for me every time I opened it.
It's in the repository in Arch, just saying.
So long as my customers that I have on Linux and I'm migrating to Linux, so long as they can open up a store, and, for them just to be able to select whichever package they want. Now, they're not going to know the difference. They're just going to download what's available, and it has the Flatpak. So I'm fine with that. Linux Mint does that.
Well, you can do this too, and I've had to do it to find the elementary matrix thing. Is just actually Googled FlatHub. Go right to FlatHub. Yeah. Find the package you want. If you have Flatpak installed, it'll install it for you. Just click on install. It knows you have Flatpak.
Yeah, the only thing about having to search for it manually as opposed to them having it built in to the storefront. Because I'm going to be honest with you.
You just put it in this. They have a search bar there. Just put in matrix or elementary and it'll pop up as the first populated item.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm coming from not our perspective so much because we're not normal. I'm talking about the normal person off the street. We're in a society that thinking.
Well, if you take a Windows user and give them a Mac, they're going to have the same problem for a while.
And
change is never easy.
Particularly the distributions that are prioritizing Flatpaks and snaps, they don't have these issues because in their software center, they have the biggest problem they have is that you can't tell if is it doing the Flatpak, the repository, the snap. So there's all a bunch of different options in there. But we can set aside the idea that we have to do all these through a terminal these days because nearly every software store has the plugins to do that. But with that though, I want to talk about another downside to installing these as a primary base. And this is what I've been seeing with Ubuntu, particularly the Ubuntu LTS as of late, is that they seem to not be prioritizing the repository packages as much because they're like, oh, we got snaps. We can just ignore the repository version for a while.
Right.
That's a problem. And that's one of the challenges because that forces downstream distributions to either have old or outdated and possibly not even secure stuff or do it all themselves or rely on snaps, which one of the biggest downsides of snaps we haven't mentioned yet is they have said we are not auditing them. And you have to trust the developer a whole lot more if you're relying on snaps and Flatpaks than if you are relying on the repository.
That's why Mint has a Debian edition.
Yeah, speaking of someone who actually
everybody's happy, and it sucks, and I'm not happy because the more user friendly we make, I'm arguing my own argument against myself. The more user friendly we make stuff, and the more we rely on the fancy new, I can get any software, whether it's proprietary or not. Okay, Okay, you're going down this road. You know where that ends. Linux becomes Windows.
I'm going to make this argument. If you're on Windows and you want a particular package, let's say you're looking for a piece of software and you're on Windows and you don't know where to find it. So you're using a search engine to find it. And finally you found it. Okay. Yeah. The same argument goes for Linux. We usually wind up at GitHub. You may have to build it. It may have pre-builts that you can do, or binaries, or any other thing. But it's the same route to get to the same thing you want to put in your OS.
But it isn't if it's in the repository.
So this is something Windows doesn't necessarily have a good leg on yet, unless you want to use their goofy store.
Right.
We're gonna Salbu, go ahead.
Yeah, I am one who I have 7 or 8 projects that I am the upstream maintainer for, and I am and I know that there are mixed feelings about this among developers, but there are a lot of developers who really do not see it as our job to have the software that we create or maintain, to have them packaged in a format that people can install. That is, I am very have strong feelings about it. This is the distributions packager's job. And if someone wants to have something that I create on Git, on FlatHub, or in the Snap store and so on, fine, do it, but it's not my job to do it. And I utterly refuse to create packages that are going to any store. The only packages that I create are for my own use, and I have some of them in a public repo that people can use. A few friends of mine use them. And I package for my distribution, Mageia. And everything else is someone else's job. It's not me.
Mm-hmm. Peter says Mark is right again. Don't let Linux become Windows. Linux is for nerds, not noobs. I agree in a way, you know. As long as it works, I'm okay with the complexity. You know, but yeah, I don't want to see Linux turn into the next Windows, because that's just going to be a nightmare, and I'm going to want to leave. And this is why I resist Zorin and Ubuntu and all these other distributions that are trying to do telemetry.
The only reason I have Linux migration is because the Linux community as a whole decided new user-friendly distros all the way. I said, I don't want it. I really don't. But if that's what y'all want, then we'll do it. Fine. The direction Windows is going with privacy, I understand it. Mm-hmm. We need to make it more... we need to make the Linux more visible and get more people on, so that they can get away from the privacy issues in Windows. Well, it was a call to action. The community wanted. I said, okay, let's do it. But once you go down that path of user-friendliness and the newfangled whatever is new and hot now, whether it's better or not, you're going to end up just like Windows. And I feel like that's...
Well, the thing with Linux is that you have a choice there. If you want, you can go to Gentoo or Slackware.
Well, yeah, and this is exactly the point that DeUltima says. The thing about Linux, some cater to Windows users and make easy-to-use distributions with a lot of publicity, like Ubuntu, and then others are very advanced. I think that sometimes I'm still running Endeavor OS for my media PC, and there's times some things can get a little goofy that you don't want a newbie on necessarily. But Linux Mint, I just don't have any problems with it, which is why I run Linux Mint for my main production systems.
And one other difference between installing a package from FlatHub, say, or installing the same package from the various distributions on repositories, is that some packages functions differently. It is the same package, but dependent on which distributions you run, it behaves differently, or some functions are enabled in one distribution and are disabled in another, because people have different different ideas of how they want the thing to work. you have people like me who really do not want any proprietary software of any kind. I don't even run closed source drivers. And then you have people who really don't care, and they take whatever is available. And you need to have this. Some software are compiled in one repo that is that do not have patented drivers or don't have patented codecs and so on. Whereas the same package in the same distributions in the another non-free repo have the same thing compiled, which include those. And you can't. Often you can't do that in a Flathub package.
Mm-hmm. Blue asks, does Flatpak do the same We Trust the Developer snap? Yes and no. If you are installing a developer's own repository, which it's possible to do with running Flatpaks, then yes, you are trusting the developer completely. If at least Snapcraft in that case, they have a model by which they use to decide which developer to trust. But as far as being in FlatHub, to my knowledge, everything that goes into FlatHub is audited prior to going through. If anybody knows differently, let me know. Yeah. So as long as you're relying on a main repository like FlatHub, or if a distribution like Elementary has a curated Flatpak repository, you can trust those repositories. But if you're installing a developer's repository, now your trust is 100% on the developer.
Yeah, and I have been to some developers' web pages where they actually have Flatpaks and they're actually hosting the Flatpak to be installed. It's not at FlatHub.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple I've needed to use for fringe cases that I've done that, and it seems to work fine. Usually like beta software might do things like that.
All y'all want the easy to use stuff. Just use Windows and cut off shut up. Turn on shut up 10.
Yeah, that's one of the.
There's a fourth kind of package that we haven't even brought up. Also, there's the all-in-one package where you just get the tarball, download it, putting it in your home folder, unzip it, hit the launch this program. .sh and it opens and runs just on its own.
Yeah, that's a good good way
I
to
think
do it
those
as well.
are really awesome.
And that's really basically what the repository software is going to do.
Like if you're on a Debian release that has Mozilla Firefox ESR and you don't like it, you can go get the all-in-one Mozilla Firefox net browser as an all-in-one and put it in your home directory, unzip it. You can even build a .desktop file for it, so it'll show up in your menu.
Yep.
And it's in your home folder. If you partitioned your hard drive so you have all your system junk up at the front, you got a huge home folder, and then maybe if you've got a swap partition in it, when you go to change your distro and you don't change anything in your home partition, that all stays there. You still have that web browser that works when you put your new distro in.
That does, though, tie into another issue we need to discuss, and that is extra security and privacy. Because doing that, just like a basic repository software, has access to everything system-wide. That is one of the advantages of moving to Snap and Flatpak type platforms, is that they allow a degree of sandboxing that you can't get with repository and what you're doing dropping a tarball in. So that's kind of where some of the respectability of these methods, because you can completely isolate Flatpaks and snaps from everything else on the system. So if there's some vulnerability, it can't leak to other places. So that's another factor to keep in mind.
Well, I've found with Flatpaks, when you install a Flatpak, it goes around to your system and actually gives itself permission to an awful lot of things, including your hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, you can set Flatpaks and things have greater,
privileges.
Privileges, yeah, but at the same time, by default, they don't do that.
Well, I forgot this was about 6 months ago. I downloaded a Flatpak and I couldn't get it to work right. And the problem was it wanted to access the system, but the person that built the Flatpak didn't put in the right stuff to give permission to a particular file in the system.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to everything. That's why we discuss it and figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
Also, one point that Mark had just a few minutes ago that I want to comment on is the usability or user friendliness of having something that is user friendly does not equal that it is a security nightmare, or just having the Debian installer, for instance. 20 years ago, it was the default Debian installer asked about 200 questions during the default install. It no longer does that. So it's a user. So just because something is user friendly does not mean it's not something that we should recommend to the. But we should have an idea of what to suggest to anyone who wants to use it. And
yeah, that's kind of where things like ArchFi, which is one of the Arch install scripts, comes in handy. You basically just download Arch, but instead of having to manually go through it, you run the script and it will ask you all of those questions, which means it takes a long time to install, but it's completely customized down to every bit of level that you need.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Debian installer can also do that. If you first it installs the base system, and then you can, if you choose to only install the base system, then you can select what parts of the Debian packages that you want to install, and then you can have a very minimalistic. So you have the option.
Yeah, yeah. What I'll normally do for the sake of time, a lot of times though, and this kind of works for me because my requirements are not so specific, but I'll choose the minimal installer, and that cuts out a lot of the bloat. In like Manjaro or something like that, I'll choose minimal.
Yeah, and then one can use a script or a meta package for those who know how to create one. That will fetch in what you always install each time you install, and you can streamline the installation.
Here's something about Flatpak that really bothers me. Is it when you go to install a package or even upgrade your Flatpak list, it does not ask you for a password, a pseudo password. Because I just upgraded all my Flatpaks. Upgrading, I didn't have to give it a pseudo password. It just went out, looked for it, and do you want to do this? Yeah, and it does.
I'm sure you can configure that, but
and it's complete.
The default is to not ask.
Yeah, I think that depends on the distribution too, as well. Some of them are requiring it, some of them are not. Because some of them, like Yay and in Arch, it does not want you to run it as sudo, but it will still ask you for the password at some point in time. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, anything else on advantages, disadvantages, Flatpaks, snaps for?
I think AppImages are kind of like on the dark side. We really haven't shined any light on AppImages yet.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is because there's no distro that's going like, hey, we're packaging everything we possibly can as an app image, which would be interesting. But
Debian does not like them.
Talk about AppImages.
Debian does not like them. I'll post a command for somebody that might want to try this is having trouble in the chat. And if it works, they can hunt down on the internet how to make it permanent in their system. And you can do that, and it'll make the app image run until you reboot the computer. And that's all I really have on that. I have the rest of the notes, how to make this so when you start up your computer, it sets the privilege it needs to do that. But they are a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was really funny. At one point, the app images worked. Then all of a sudden, all my app images one day just quit working, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" So next thing I mean, start page, DuckDuckGo, you know, and after an hour digging around, I find this article somebody wrote that they'd done this to all the Debian distros and in the Debian kernel.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of the disadvantages of relying on FlatHub or snap packages, and that is they are necessarily built against a certain kernel version, or or a certain glib C version. And if your main system, that is one of the things that you cannot ship using a Flatpak. But if your system upgrades the glib CSA, then all those packages depend on those have to be recompiled.
If that's all they offer is an app image, like that's all I could find for Balena Etcher to burn, you know, USB sticks for the ISOs, and it's only available in an app image, especially at the time when I was looking for it. Yeah, so I had no choice, you know, but to use that or trust the Mint burner.
Yeah, I like AppImages best because they don't require anything extra to work with. And, you know, it's just an individual portable file. And that makes moving your software way easier if you are if you're just moving your distribution or you want to have a more portability to your software. AppImages are absolutely the easiest to do, as long as, of course, they work with your system. But
yeah, and that is one of the advantages of having a package format that can be self-contained, that you can have a software that have dependencies included that your distribution don't package anymore for whatever reason.
So that's my thoughts on AppImages, is they can be difficult to work with, or it may be the only thing you can find to use. And
all right. Any other final discussion about them? Any of these?
Yeah, the main advantage of this package format is the ability to have packages that is not available on your distribution to install it. The disadvantage is that you then have to trust a second party that is not the distribution itself, and that is something to be considered. But yeah.
Yeah, Linux has got a really strange circle of trust.
Yeah, it does. But there's something in there for everybody, you know?
Yeah, and there's a reason that there are so many distributions. One main reason is that there are different ideas of what a distribution should look like, and some make a distribution that is tailored toward a specific set of doing things, or a specific set of hardware, and other there have ideas of how it should look like, and so yeah.
You know, we should be thankful that we actually have so many options to pick from, because we sit here and complain about this, the option, that distro, and this thing.
Yeah.
But there's always one that you can run to that you can pretty much, you know, you're going to be stuck with it if you like it in any way.
All right, let's see. Any other final comments we want to jump into real quick?
Thank God it's gone. That happened.
All right. I think that's pretty good for our topic. So I'm streaming tonight on a controversial issue on the other channel. We're talking about the new Texas law over there and the persecution that follows. So if you guys want to jump on over there, that is 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That is 1 hour and 15 minutes from there on my Christian channel. We'll be talking about that, and it's an interesting show, probably one of the better ones that I've put together with all of the good solid notes as of late. And so with that, we'll just we can spend a little bit of time chatting about other things at this point in time. So anybody have any final words on Flatpaks, snaps, etc. before we wrap up that?
I don't have anything against Flatpaks. It's probably my first go-to when I can't get a package manager specific for my distro item, because I'll see if it's available in Flatpak, or if I absolutely got to have the newest version, which is rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snaps is an Ubuntu thing. I'm going to keep it as an Ubuntu thing, and unless I'm using Ubuntu, I don't even know how to use Snaps anymore.
Yeah, well, it's just install Snap, and if I need it, just Snap and Snap Store and Snap install.
I got a laptop with Ubuntu Mate on it, but it's kind of like my co-gaming computer. If I get stuck in a game and I'm there for an hour, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how someone else got over this. And I use the laptop to get the fix.
Yeah.
Yeah, call me a cheat, Oh, well, it's game. I'll get over it.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I feel the same way. Like, one of the things I don't like about installing Pomac is it's like, hey, let's install Snap so that you can. It's like, no, I don't want to, but So I have Snap installed, but there's no Snap packages. I should probably find a way to kill it, but that's
pull it out by its roots.
Yeah, there you go. Mark, do you have any? Oh, go ahead, Subby.
Yeah, a friend of mine, when I mentioned, when I told him how Snap packages worked, he was so opposed to them that I have a standing authorization that any Ubuntu system that he gives me an account of, that have a free reign of removing any Snap packages, including the core Snap daemon. And then I pin it so that it cannot be installed by accident, even on the command line. So,
well, Alan Pope made a couple of videos, a few of them particularly, on how to actually take your program and make a snap out of it and submit it to the Snap store.
Yeah, and they've done a lot at Snapcraft that if you're a developer and you want something like that, then you can work with them. I'm sure they charge for it, but they can package it for you as well. One of the another disadvantages to the snaps is there's some developers releasing snaps that aren't the developers for the software. If you go to the actual software website and look into that, they don't actually have any recognition of the snap package. And then there's a couple different versions of them, and who in the world knows what in the world they are. And so I'm really leery about snap packages entirely because of that there. Now, some of them that do recognize or link to it, it's a different thing. Go ahead, Selby.
I am of the opposite opinion because that is exactly the thing that you are criticizing now. That is exactly how all the other distributions, the package system works.
Oh, no.
You got company.
I do. I got company.
Because every you have the Debian, and then you have Linux Mint, and then you have Red Hat and CentOS and so on. Everyone packaged the same software in their own way. And they have different versions.
True.
Good things.
But what I'm saying though is, if you go to the Snap store and you look up, for example, Simple Screen Recorder, there's multiple versions of it. They're all by different developers, and the actual software developer does not have any references to a Snap package on his website. That's what.
And you don't know which one is Snap ransomware.
Correct.
Yeah. This is what happens when a repository starts trusting the developer and not curating the packages themselves.
Yes, and that is certainly an issue there. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't think I want to discuss anything else going on in the comments right now. I'm just going to disavow. there's some Fauci ouchie jabbiness going on in the comments that I'm like, yeah, but I'm just not going to mention anything about it. We'll keep the YouTube channel around a little while longer. We'll see. But you can feel free to read the comments.
Platform anyway.
What's that? Yeah. I got a super chat. Thank you. Say no to the law. Well, if you'd like to see my opinions, come on over to the show. tonight, and we'll kind of talk about that. So that is at 9 o'clock, so just a little over 1 hour from now, and we can discuss that and the perspective that we have on that. So let's see. But thank you for the super chat. Is this a political channel or a tech channel? I try to make this one a tech channel. We try to only hit politics when it directly interfaces with tech. But if you're around this channel enough, you kind of know what my politics would be in a way. Although I will say that I am neither red nor blue. Some weird odd shade of purple mixed in with maybe a little spattering of green and a whole lot of let people be their own people. But that's that. Former university professor of aircraft construction and country became convicted that convinced that intelligent aliens can visit us and have some 0-point energy source. There you go. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to, what's the Christian channel? It is called Our Walk in Christ, and I will once again link the stream that we are doing over there. So there's that stream there, but I'm not going to comment on that anymore here. Wow. That's, let's see. We actually covered the base pretty good and had some good debates and some disagreements as well. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. Very good. So we'll have to come up with another topic just like this next week. That'll be fun. So if anybody has any ideas, shoot me an email. So.
Just on the final comment on disagreeing. I have an old friend of mine. He likes to debate various issues. And if he wants to figure out what my view is on a certain topic, then he would automatically take the opposite view, whether or not he have this view, just to figure out what my honest opinion is, and it can be quite a heated debate when he meets people, and just by the way he's debating, you can't really figure out what his actual opinion are. So,
oh, really? Well, that's how you know that you. That's how you know that you really have your true convictions, is when you can argue the antithesis appropriately.
Yeah.
So, which is important because too many people can't. And if you cannot argue your antithesis appropriately, then you don't actually know what you believe at some base. So, yeah, that's always important.
20 years ago, there was a radio radio host who had a debate. I'm not sure if it was once a day or once a week, but he had some topic that he wanted to talk about for an hour. And when the hour was finished, there was no way to figure out what his opinion were on a certain topic. And sometimes there was something biblical that came up, like say abortion and whether or not to do it, or whether someone said something about the Bible, and you could not figure out by how he was discussing if he was a Christian or if he was an atheist, because he took the opposite view of the caller, and he was quite good at it. I miss those radio talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. I think we'll go ahead and wrap this one up here. So with that, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you over on the Crazy Controversial stream if you're interested in such things. If not, then we'll see you tomorrow for the Weekly News Roundup, where we have a new news section. We have a new news section. There's so many articles popped up in a different section. I'm like, I got to do that. So I got to come up with a fun image thing for it too. So that'll be good.
You all take care, and thanks for dropping in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So join us tomorrow.
Don't forget that thumbs up too.
Absolutely. Yeah. How many we got over here going on? We got 36 on right now, and we got 32 likes. That's a pretty good ratio.
I seem to think that number is very false. I think there's more people watching that counter is counting.
Probably. We're still sort of in YouTube's gulag. At least we didn't get gulagged like the Linux experiment did. He got like gulagged. And then he came back. So good to see the Linux experiment is back. Thanks for everybody who jumped on and commented back to get his channel up, because he does some great stuff over there.
Who's that?
I was watching
the Linux experiment. Yeah, the
I
Linux
was watching a
experiment.
car channel, and this guy
YouTube
had
deleted his whole channel. His whole
yeah, he
Google
deleted the whole
Oh,
thing.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Come on.
and then they brought it back.
I was watching this
My
car guy
channel, you
channel,
What the
and he had
value
0
you created?
watching, and he had like 100 thumbs up.
Yeah.
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 Nice channel you have there. Terrible if something happened to it.
I just saw his name listed, the Linux Experiment. I saw your channel, if you're in chat, listed under Tom's recommended channels on his Switch to Linux. And I'm definitely going to check out your stuff, because if Tom follows you, I know you're a good critic.
He's got good stuff.
I will check
He
you out.
started only I mean not long ago, and he shot way up.
Good.
You know, they're all leaving me behind, and that's okay. I don't mind.
It's okay.
But yeah, he's got some great content. So have a look at his stuff over there. So anyway, guys, we'll wrap this one up here. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow for the weekly news around that.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, Pizza Loving Nerd's doing pretty good. He's started uploading again.
Oh, good.
See you, everyone.